Scorched earth, you dick!
Hello everyone, what a mid-season finale, am I right? Who would have thought Carl would turn out to be such a... what's the word I'm looking for?
Such a badass!
Yeah, that's it. We're halfway through Season 8, and as predicted from my previous video, the tides of war have drastically shifted. We're going to take a look at episodes 5 through 8 and break down what was taken from the comics, what was changed for the show, and what is exclusive to AMC's timeline. The first 4 episodes focused on the start of all-out war with the initial assault on Sanctuary and trapping the Saviors inside while they took out Negan's outposts. Though Rick's group suffered some heavy losses including Eric, Shiva, and the fighters from Kingdom, they were winning the war up to this point.
We're winning.
Most of the second half leading up to the mid-season was the aftermath of those outpost attacks. Negan and Gabriel got into a couple quarrel and eventually escaped their trailer prison to Sanctuary with the help of a friendly walker. Eugene finds out Dwight is the traitor and with a little help gets the balls to confront him about it. After some internal turmoil, he decides to help Dr. Carson 2.0 escape with Gabriel. Rick and Daryl chase down a savior and recover a cache of bombs but get into an explosive argument on how to use them. Ezekiel goes into solitude over his loss and not even the passionate pleas of Carol can heal him. Aaron returns to Hilltop down one baby doll and up one baby? Finally, Jesus saves the Saviors from Hilltop's wrath when he brings them home and convinces Margaret to let them live.
Margaret, all due respect.
So in the comics, after Negan's outposts are attacked, everyone heads back to Alexandria to go over their next steps. Unlike the show though, Rick heads right back to Alexandria. He does not go off to enlist another group. Carl is waiting for him, and this is where Rick learns the Kingdom fighters have perished. Since the groups were scattered in AMC's version, they handle this part with letters being written into each other and being sent, explaining how the fighting went. This blow to his forces has Rick call for a strategy meeting. Another variation from AMC is that Ezekiel also went to Alexandria, not the Kingdom, though just like in the show he's in heavy mourning and blames himself for what happened. It's not Carol though who tries to snap him out of it, it's Michonne who also tells him to act the part.
Then do what you do best and play the part.
But does so after giving him a good punch in the face.
Punch you in the face!
Aaron also heads back to Alexandria, not Hilltop, and is comforted by Heath instead of Maggie since she never left Hilltop during the fighting. Another huge difference the show made was, at this point in the comics, Eugene has not been captured by Negan. During the fighting, he's been producing bullets for Rick and continues to work hard night and day. What was taken from the comics, though, is Dr. Carson escaping with the help of Eugene. AMC's version had Eugene distract a guard and drop a car key, giving Carson a window to leave with Gabriel. This was taken from the comics, but changed up a bit. In the comics, it's Dr. Carson who frees a captive Eugene. This also takes place a bit later in the story, much after the destruction of Alexandria. The two are not alone either, as several other saviors join in with them in the escape. Back to the show. It's here where the group starts to diverge from the original plan and start to do their own thing. Aaron and his new sidekick Enid take a trip to the Isle of Lesbians to court them into joining Rick's fight. Their first impression doesn't go over well, besides the fact that this is the first D to visit them in years happens to be a gay man. Ever so patient Daryl decides to end the Saviors on his own terms and enlist the help of Captain Morgan, Tara, and some others. Ramming a truck into the side of the building, they unleash a horde onto the Saviors, but this also gives Eugene the opportunity to save the Saviors by freeing them.
Not much longer, see, Eugene has solved us a way out of this mess.
Finally, with the loss of the Kingdom fighters, Rick has no choice but to go back to the Heapsters to fill his ranks, only for them to turn tail and run at the first sign of resistance. Okay, so most of this was exclusive to AMC. There is no Isle of Lesbians, no Daryl, and no scavengers. While they don't directly show it, it's hinted in the show that Eugene is the one that figures out how to clear the walkers, possibly using sound to steer them away. In the comics though, it's Negan and his men who clear out the walkers. There are no snipers watching them, so they're free to go out, kill some walkers, and run back inside to let things quiet down. The whole time, Rick knows they're eventually gonna get free, it just happens much faster than he anticipated. The mid-season wrapped up with an explosive finish. Now I know, 2 bomb puns in the same video, simply lazy, I know. Surprise! Negan has escaped and catches Alexandria by surprise, demanding a stern apology before bombing the fuck out of the town.
So you're gonna line up in front of your little houses and you're gonna work up some apologies.
Carl saves most of the people in town by becoming Bat Carl. Daryl escapes and Dwight follows after, leading the Saviors into a trap. Kingdom is overtaken and put under the rule of Negan. Maggie's convoy is stopped on their trip where Simon says go back to the hilltop. Negan finally gets to have his talk with Rick, only for him to escape once again. And lastly, we end the mid-season with Rick walking in a hidden tunnel where everyone's alive and okay. No one is shot, no one got bit. Oh my god, Carl, what happened? Carl! So the idea of destroying Alexandria was taken directly from the comics, but changed up quite a bit to make it more dramatic. In the comics, during his strategy meeting, Rick is going over their defenses. They know Negan will attack Alexandria first since he'll blame Rick for causing all this chaos. They hear some gunshots, and walking to a window to check it out, they're all knocked back by an explosion. Unlike AMC's version though, this attack takes place during the day, not at night, and right after Rick returns, not while he's still away. He also uses a grenade right away to get Rick to come out, not him announce himself and then give 3 minutes before attacking. When Rick refuses to come out, Negan brings out Holly with her head covered up, which gets Rick's attention. They open the gate to bring a Trojan Holly in, only to find out she's a walker who immediately bites Denise, prompting Negan to start his attack. While running to save Denise, Heath is hit by an explosion which blows off one of his legs. The Saviors continue their attack. Unlike the show though, they never enter Alexandria, only continuing to throw grenades over in hopes of bombing them into submission. What was inspired by the comics for the show though was Dwight's betrayal of his own people. While throwing grenades over, Jesus does some straight ninja shit and catches one midair before tossing it back over at them. It blows one of the Saviors in half, and Dwight tells the others to hold them longer before throwing. While they're trying to figure out how long, Dwight takes his gun out and shoots them all in the back of the head. As Jesus looks over to see what's going on, Dwight throws him the rest of the grenades and tells him to make sure Rick knows he's helping. This played out a bit differently in the show, of course, with Dwight leading the Saviors into a trap before shooting them himself. During the attack, Rick rushes to find Carl and Andrea. As they're escaping, an explosion goes off behind them, knocking all three to the ground. Rick starts to panic as it appears Carl is now dead from the blast. He rushes him to Denise before passing out himself. Negan would have continued to pummel Alexandria, but Maggie shows up with the hilltop and saves the day. Just like the show, the Saviors once again have more casualties. The only one for sure who dies in the comics is Denise, and that's due to a walker bite. The show seemed to take this concept as well, except have Carl be the one bit, not Denise. As mentioned, in the comics Carl does indeed get injured, it's just with an explosion, not a walker bite. This is a huge change AMC has made, for not only is Carl still alive in the comics, he's an integral part of the next story arc. In fact, he's the reason the next story arc even happens. So it'll be real interesting to see how AMC will handle that. Alright, so here's where I usually ask for your thoughts on the season so far, but I feel like I need to get something off my chest. When I first saw this, I was convinced that Carl was still going to survive somehow. I mean, this is the kid who got shot in the fucking face and lived, who pretty much grew up in this world, who killed his own mother. I figured AMC was gonna do some stupid excuse why he doesn't die, like the bite was from Sadiq accidentally during the scuffle with the walkers, or the bite didn't puncture the skin enough to cause an infection, something stupid like that. Conspiracy me thought that AMC was only gonna make it look like he was gonna die to boost their failing numbers. You know, a cliffhanger to get more people to tune in when it returns next season. My hopes were ultimately crushed though when several articles emerged that Chandler Riggs did interviews stating he was fired and written off the show, even after being told he was guaranteed a spot for the next several seasons. The show writer stated that he did not like how Rick went from hating Negan and slashing his throat to wanting to spare his life. He felt like Rick needed a push, something to show him the killing had to stop. Now me personally, I thought Daryl would have filled this role perfectly with how much of a dick he's become lately. You know, Rick sees how much the war has changed him, or maybe even the whole turning a baby into an orphan thing. There was plenty to pick from, but for some reason AMC decided to kill off the arguably second most important character in the show. I mean, everything Rick has done up to now has been for the protection of Carl.
Carl! 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 Carl!
So where does he go from here? Whatever happened to the scavengers? What was up with that helicopter? Is Carl truly going to die, or could the actor just be lying to not ruin any surprises? If he does die, does this mean the shots of post-war Rick using the cane was just a dream? Possibly just some shitty editing on the part of AMC? Is Aaron and Enid gonna get away? Will Dwight have to officially switch sides? Will I stop asking questions and just end this damn video? All will be answered when The Walking Dead returns in February. Until next time, keep on walking.